You know, we all need them. We all need some strategies for living. And if you want them, you've come to the right place. So are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
Listen, I just want to say today that with your help, I am ready by the skin of my teeth. I mean, I'm not sure I could have gotten ready any sooner, any later.
Some days producing is easier than other days. Hey, folks, welcome into 1017 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. He is Jimmie Bryant, Ph.D. That means he produces, he hosts, and he directs.
You know it's your fault that I was ready by the skin of my teeth.
Well, I try to help every way I can.
You come with such captivating concepts and themes and topics.
And today, and I told you a little bit about that. Can you imagine, Jimmie? Can you imagine you go to ER because you've got this nasty cough, right?
Yeah.
And a few hours later, a doc comes in the room and gives you this diagnosis for your little cough.
Okay. Yeah.
Lung cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, lung cancer with a ping pong sized lump in the lung. Can you imagine that kind of getting that diagnosis?
Heavy.
Yeah. When you're expecting, I'm just going to get it treated for a little cough.
Yeah. That's really hard to imagine. I can't imagine.
So that happened to Mark and Mary Kay Liston, and they are our life strategists today. They share their faith-filled journey, and they do that in addition to some journeys from 26 others. And they've got a wonderful book out. We're going to talk about it today. It's called Diagnosed: Inspirational Stories After an Alarming Medical Diagnosis. So that's on taps today.
Okay.
Here on Strategies for a Living. We will be back to introduce Mark and Mary Kay Liston as our life strategists.
Get ready, everybody.
Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for a Living. We are presented by Prize Fest, a festival of film and food and music and fashion and stand-up comedy. And Gregory Kallenberg's going to be our life strategist tomorrow evening.
Now that's going to be a ball.
There you go. Yep.
Sure will.
All right. We're also brought to you by the Robinson Film Center. We're brought to you by Azalea Cleaners. We're brought to you by Pintail Roofing.
Roof.
We're brought to you by Learning Rx. We're brought to you by Hempress, Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport. And we're brought to you by the Shreveport Little Theater. Back in a moment, we're going to meet the authors of Diagnosed. And they are Mark and Mary Kay Liston, our life strategist, right here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
The following program is paid for by David McMillian.
Sobo, you asked, and Shane's Seafood and Barbecue listen. Now open at 5480 Barksdale Boulevard in Bossier. Come see why Shane's Seafood is the best combination of South Louisiana Cajun fixings and Texas barbecue. With many locations in Shreveport, Bossier, Shane's is locally owned and not just here for crawfish season. If your family's just going out to dinner, need an event catered, or coming to pick up a boil with your friends, Shane's asks you to eat local and eat often. Find Shane's online at shaneseafood.com for locations, and come on down to Shane's.
They're coming back home to Tyler, Texas for the first time in 8 long years. Radio Texas Live presents the second annual Rose City Music Festival. And we're doing what they said couldn't be done. We're bringing Whiskey Myers home. Whiskey Myers! Whiskey Myers! Whiskey Myers! And you know him from the Fast and Furious franchise. Plus, he's sold over 24 million albums worldwide. Ludacris! It's the pairing you never knew you needed. Whiskey Myers and Ludacris. Get your tickets now at TheRoseCityMusicFestival.com.
Rottweiler named Whiskey, with hours to live, brought back to full health. A terrier named Snoopy, paralyzed in all 4 legs, who ran and played again within months. These dogs are known as Marty's Miracles. Dogs brought back to health by Dr. Marty Goldstein.
I've helped countless dogs thrive with one simple concept. Your dog needs a high-meat diet similar to what their ancestors ate in the wild.
Called the Miracle Worker by Forbes magazine, he's now created a premium dog food for you called Nature's Blend. It's the easiest way to support your dog's easy digestion, nourished skin, playful energy, and most importantly, their healthy, full life. For a limited time, save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get free premium dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511.
I'm so confident your dog will love it. Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, welcome in. Welcome into Strategies for Living here on 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmie Bryant, David McMillian. And let's welcome into the program now our life strategist, Mark and Mary Kay Liston. They are retired franchise executives, both presidents of different franchise companies. Mary Kay is a Navy brat, having grown up on Navy bases all over the West Coast and Japan. She received her undergrad at San Diego State, her hometown, and an MBA from Pepperdine. She had 5 other siblings. And Mark grew up in northern Illinois, got married at 18, had 3 kids by the time he was 22. Whoa. His only brother was 18 years older, and he lost his dad while in grade school. And now they are snowbirds. They spend time with the kids and grandkids and enjoy traveling. And they wrote this book after, of course, Mark's diagnosis of lung cancer. It's called Diagnosed. Mark, Mary Kay Liston, welcome into Strategies for Living.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thanks, Dr. McMillian. So good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you guys. You gotta promise me it's let's be Mark and Mary Kay and David and Jimmie. How about that?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
So, Diagnosed. Man, you get right to it with the title, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Did that download to you? Did it come immediately? Did it bubble up? How did you first of all, how did you decide when and who, which one of you decided we got to write a book?
I'm more the writer in the family. Mary Kay is more of the editor. Although, David, everything that I've ever written, at least in the last 20 years, she's changed. And
that'll happen.
And then she gives it back to me, and she said, made just a couple changes. What do you think? And I'll read it, and I'll say, MK, I don't see any changes whatsoever. She says, I'll be honest. I made 53 changes. Oh, okay. Well, it sounds really good now. So
There you go. There you go.
But the path to this book started the first day of diagnosis, and Mark began journaling since he is a writer at heart.
Yeah. I did it for myself first. I thought, what the heck? I need to understand what's happening. Let's put it this way. I've had better Thursdays than I had that day.
I can't even imagine, Mark. I can't even imagine. But, I'm so glad that you are sharing with all of us, because we talk a lot about journaling on strategies. We talk about it as a strategy for, dealing with whatever. So the fact that you immediately went there as kind of a natural inclination, You've earned your life strategist stripes right there, Mark.
Well, thank you. So I did it for me, and then the next day, and some days I wrote a sentence, other days a couple paragraphs, other days a short story, and it all depended on how I woke up and felt that morning.
Yeah.
When this happens, you have no idea how you're going to wake up feeling. So right away, MK probably slept another hour than I did, and I'd go in and get on my computer and I'd just write. And in fact, I didn't even tell her about it for the first week and a half. And then I said, "Hey, honey, I've been writing."
When did you realize this is going to be a book? This has got to be. Maybe you realize this has got to be a book.
Well, we recognized that there was some there about week 3 when he finally got his biopsy and things were starting to happen. And so he continued journaling toward that end, but then he had a revelation.
Yeah. Along the way, we thought this might help a lot of other people, because no one in my family had ever died of cancer. We were the heart attack people in my family, but no one ever died of cancer. And so I couldn't imagine what it was like to get this diagnosis.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, maybe other people could really benefit from this.
Yeah.
However, January 11th, I woke up, and I don't know if it was a vision. I don't know if it was a voice. All I know is when I woke up, I knew that the book couldn't be about me. It could include part of my story, but it couldn't be about me. So I did the right thing, the most brilliant thing possible. That morning, I got on Facebook. And what I did was I said, "Hey, we're writing a book. Could be about cancer, about other alarming medical diagnoses. If you are a survivor, if you are a helper, if you've got someone through it, if you'd want to be in the story or know somebody that could be in the story, just send me an email." Never thinking we get more than 2 or 3 people saying, "Yeah, I'd like to be in it."
Yeah.
We were still kind of feeling our way to see if there really was a book there.
Yeah.
12 hours later, there's over 20 people saying, "I want to be in the book."
Oh, wow.
And 20 people. So from there, and our whole goal was to get 25. We actually got 26.
Right.
But our whole goal was to get 25 after that, after we had the first 20 in the bag. That's when we figured there might be a wonderful story here. And I started interviewing all the people that said they wanted to be in the book. And every story I heard was more amazing. I'll never forget that every time I read one of their stories again and tried to proofread it myself before I sent it to them, I said, "What do you think? You going to add, subtract, cut anything out?" But I think it should be inspirational, because when I read, it's a very inspirational story. Every time I did that, I'd give it to Mary Kay, and I'd say, "Boy, this is better than the last one." Then the next day, "Wow, this is unbelievable." And then the next day, "Whew, this one made me cry." So each of these stories were from their own lips. It was all about them, and they wanted to share them. Yeah. They weren't trying to hide it. Yeah. They wanted to share everything they went through, the chemo, the radiation. Some people said, "I did alternative treatments." Another person said it was holistic. So we didn't have any rules of what it needed to be about, but a couple of things from everybody. They all remained positive, and they all had faith. And they said those are the 2 things that got them through anything more than anything else.
Yeah. Could there be anything better than a book that gives you positive and is faith and gives you Bill's faith? Could there be anything better than that? When we come back from break, Mark and Mary Kay, I want to start you walking out of the emergency room and after that diagnosis. And, I know, Mark, you maybe, I don't know if you were a smoker or you weren't. We'll find that out when we come back. We're talking to Mark and Mary Kay Liston. The book is Diagnosed. It's inspirational stories after an alarming medical diagnosis. I want to talk to you about Prize Fest. It's a festival of film, of food, of music, of fashion, and of stand-up comedy, all coming October the 13th through the 21st. And you can see the entire schedule of October 13th through 21st at prizefest.com. Gregory Kallenberg is going to share the story. I mean, because Prize Fest, it's a competition. It's also a festival, and it's so special for our community. And Gregory's gonna share with us tomorrow evening how it's unfolded. But
I mean, this is one of the events that helps make Shreveport the unique, vibrant place it is.
Absolutely. Film and food and music and fashion and comedy. And then you throw in over $100,000 in cash and prizes. And, you've got music prize, you've got fashion prize, you've got the film prize, you've got food prize, you've got comedy prize, and you've got all the other festival events. Man, there's so much to do. I mean, lounges and parties and red carpet and educational events. It's all packed. Prize Fest is so much more than contest. You want to go ahead and get ready, see the schedule, buy your passes now. Prize Fest, you want to experience it. It's a festival of film, food, music, fashion, and stand-up comedy. Buy your passes and find out so much more at prizefest.com.
Hey, it's Mike Martindale in studio with Michael Smith, owner of Pioneer Comfort Systems that has 60-plus years in the market. Michael, why is Pioneer Comfort the only one to consider when needing AC repair?
At Pioneer Comfort Systems, our AC service professionals have the experience and tools necessary to make sure that your heating and air conditioning is working optimally all year long. We guarantee customer satisfaction at Pioneer Comfort Systems. Let us keep you in your comfort zone.
Pioneer Comfort Systems, our Kiel industry ace.
Welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Kiel. Jimmie Bryant, David McMillian with our life strategist, Mark and Mary Kay Liston. They are the authors of Diagnosed, Inspirational Stories After an Alarming Medical Diagnosis, and you can find it, of course, wherever you find books. So, Mark, had you been a smoker or anything like that?
Never.
Wow.
My dad died when I was 13. Now, he was a smoker, but heck, that's been over 55 years ago.
Well, yeah. Well, how you had the cold that you had the cough that you went to the emergency room with, but otherwise, were you pretty healthy at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. I just never get sick.
We ended up in the emergency room because I have a sister in the medical field way across the country.
Right.
We were planning to Florida in a month, and I mentioned to her that Mark had a cough, and she said, you might want to go into an urgent care and just get it checked out. So the next morning we did, and the doctor in urgent care told Mark after a few tests, you got to go to the emergency room, and you have to go by ambulance. Now, it was right across the park. So we got scared right in the beginning. I got there 10 minutes before he did in the ambulance. Then we spent another 4 hours in the emergency room with them running tests on him. So when they came in and said you have lung cancer, that was way out of left field. We were nowhere ready for that.
Yeah. So did after that emergency room visit, did you leave the hospital? Did they hospitalize you for a minute or two after that? What happened there?
No, they gave us a list of oncologists and said, you better find one. but the first thing he did when he told us that, he left the room and we cried a little bit. We hugged each other and we gave it to God because we thought this is going to be too heavy for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we called our doctor in Florida, and she said, get yourselves out of that cold Ohio air and come down to Florida, and we'll deal with your lung issue down here.
Okay.
But then the toughest thing of all, David, I had to call the kids. So I called the kids that night. They're all 40 years old plus.
Right.
And told them that, hey, guys, I think I have lung cancer. And, boy, you can imagine how that sets them back.
Yeah.
So that was the toughest part of this whole journey.
Yeah.
Having to tell the kids.
Yeah, because you guys have 3 children and 12 grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
And one great grandchild.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Lots of people to have fun with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so it was so important to us to do whatever we needed to do. I didn't care if I had a chemo. I didn't care if I had a radiation. I just wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
So when we went to the pulmonologist, we did something very nice. We went to the pulmonologist on Mary Kay's birthday to find out what we have to do next. And he says, don't worry. One of my best friends is at the hospital, and he's the one that's going to do the biopsy. We said, great. So we thought we'd hear from him the next day, and we got a call. He said, I let them know this, and the hospital should be calling you. So apparently someone jumped right on it, and this is the 10th of November at this time, and we had our biopsy on the 29th. Now, their world on what's quick and my world on what's quick is real different.
Yeah. I would guess from a medical perspective that was very quick. But from a Mark perspective, it was probably like, oh, man, when is it going to get here?
Every morning asking, yes, when's it going to get here?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary Kay.
The biopsy was taken, and they said it would take about a week to get results. In fact, it took more than a week because they had to send it off to the University of Michigan to look at because it was inconclusive. That was frustrating.
Yeah, but in the meantime, the pulmonologist called me. And he said, hey, I've seen the preliminary results. I am sure you don't have lung cancer. I do think, almost for sure, you have lymphoma. So when I got home, I looked up what lymphoma was in the Google machine.
Yeah.
And learned that is cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this isn't great news.
Yeah. So as you deal with this, you're trying to stay positive. You're writing, you're journaling, you're doing that. Was it tougher to write some days than other days, Mark?
That's a tough question. It's a great question. I think it all depended on how I felt when I woke up. If I was very positive, if it was something came up. Good example for you, David, is my concerns were for Mary Kay if I passed.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah.
But for her. What's going to happen to her? Is she going to pick one of the 2 houses to stay there? She has sisters all over because they were Army brats. And is she going to move to Washington, or is she going to stay in Florida, or will she move to Las Vegas? She has sisters in all those places. So that went through my mind all the time.
Yeah.
And also, when I woke up, I think about my own life, and I think about my dad, what my dad was all about, and what a great father he was. Then my mind would drift to figure out if I was that good of a dad to my kids. And I'd drift off more to see if, am I a good dad today, and what else can I be doing to be a better dad? So, yes, the answer is yes. It was different every day based on how I woke up.
What I'm hearing as I'm listening to you is, and maybe we should all do this, but it sounds like the reality of death being, because you get a diagnosis like that, and it's like, there's the knock, and it's
right.
like you embraced that reality, and then you dealt with it. And it forced you, it sounds like, it forced you into asking yourself some very, very important questions for yourself.
They were. Yeah, absolutely they were. And I'm glad I went through that process. And it was a reassuring process to remember how I was raised, how I grew up, the stories I had. Like you said before, I got married at 18. That's pretty smart. I had 3 kids by the time I had 3 kids by the time I was 22. That was real. So I was such a good father at that age, too. You can just imagine. So looking back, all these different memories.
Yeah. All right, so on this radio station for years, there was a great broadcaster named Paul Harvey, and he used to say, "And now the rest of the story." So what's the rest of the story here? Take us to, obviously, we're talking to you. Obviously, you are healthy today. You've made it through all of that. What's the rest of the story, Mark and Mary Kay?
Well, the true story in the book, Diagnosed, I believe, is the messages of hope and inspiration from people who've gone through myriad types of medical challenges. And the messages that we gleaned from it, I think that would fit anybody, are basically certainly the one of hope, the message of hope, the message of faith, to keep faith, and to recognize that it's rare these days that you get a diagnosis that's really a death sentence because of the advances in medicine. Years ago, if someone told you had the big C, that was, you really hear the knocking. But today, even though emotionally gut-wrenching, that's probably what seizes you first. But then you think about it and you look around you, and if you can get your hands on some stories of people who've had a similar journey to yours, then you recognize that it's not a death sentence. And I just need to trust my physicians. If I don't trust my physicians, find physicians I do trust. And do what they say, take care of myself, and I'm likely to come out the other end.
In virtually every story, I ask the person at the end, after I was almost done interviewing them, what'd you take out of this? Any takeaways that I should share with other people? Almost all of them had some. So for instance, it's not a punishment. Whatever happened to you, whatever the diagnosis is, you're not being punished by God or anybody else. It just happened. So don't sit back and say this. Another one was, don't say to somebody, you're going to be okay. Because they may not be. And why say those words? Or the words, I know just how you feel. The person we were talking to said, I have lung cancer. And she said, someone told me that one day. And I said, well, when's the last time you had lung cancer? She said, I don't want to hear that. If you haven't, you have no idea. If you have a different type of cancer, you don't know what I'm going through personally with what I have. I think the other one that we really took away from is be involved with people,
From the patient on. So frequently we heard that their first instinct was to ghost their friends, to internalize everything, not want to bother anybody or alarm anybody, and try to handle this by yourself. But what they discovered to a person was that it's much more healthy to let people know what's going on and let them love on you, because the process of giving and helping is really a blessing for the giver and the helper. And so allow them to be blessed to help you and to let you know that they love you. And even if you're the one who hears this news about somebody else and you don't know what to say, don't remain silent.
Sit with them. Hold their hand. Remind them that you love them. I can go back all the mistakes I made when listening to somebody else was going through something, and I said always the wrong thing. I didn't know that until we wrote the book. But one of those things was a good friend of mine had pancreatic cancer. I saw him at his daughter's wedding, and he told us that this goes back, probably 20 years ago. He's wearing a mask then. You know, this is before it was cool to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Or necessary. And I never called him after that. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to bother him. And then he died. And I thought, well, don't I feel like crap? So the next person that I knew that was going through anything like that, I made sure to call him all the time. And in doing so, a lot of times I say, I'm just calling you to tell you I love you. Can't wait to see you. When's a good time that I can come over? No, I'm in Texas and he's in Illinois. So it wasn't like just running over.
Yeah.
So that really affected me.
The other phrase that people use a lot is, "You're in my thoughts and prayers," which is lovely, except if you really want to be impactful to the person you're speaking with, let's say a prayer right now. Let's take a moment and just say a prayer.
When you do that, it moves them.
Yeah.
It lets them know that how much you do care. And it doesn't matter if it's a prayer from the Old Testament, for Pete's sake. It's a prayer that whatever you make up right then and there, it really comes from the heart, though.
And you're holding space for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
That actually happened. That actually happened to me. I didn't. I had to have open heart surgery back in 2008, and it wasn't. It was a diagnosis that I didn't have a heart attack or anything like that. It was found in some medical test. I had a mitral valve. I knew I had mitral valve prolapse, but I'd had it for years, and for whatever reason, it just stopped working. And anyway, long story short, I had to face open heart surgery. Never had a bone broken before. Never had stitches before that. But a guy that I had actually he had been a client of mine, and I had shared with him, the journey, some of the journaling. I ran into him maybe 3 or 4 days before the surgery was scheduled at Dillard's at the department store. And
Right.
He asked, so when's the what's the deal? And I told him, and he said, let's pray. And we were right in the middle. I think I'm not sure where we were. I think I'm not even sure we were in the men's department. I don't think we were. So I think we may have been in the middle of women's underwear or something. I don't know. But it doesn't matter.
That's right.
It was powerful. But it was, I'm sure it was powerful to him too, but it was extremely powerful and a blessing to me. So I just underscore what you just shared. My thoughts and prayers are with you. Okay, well, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we're talking about then? When all of a sudden you're going through this, you have no idea what's on the other side, if there's an other side, if you're going to wake up, and it just scares the heck out of you.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. You believe, and you feel good about it, and you're confident in your doctors, but there's still something in the back of your mind saying, well, let's hope that it goes well.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. We're
Another form of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, let me get a quick break here. Hold that thought, Mary Kay.
Okay.
We're talking to Mark and Mary Kay Liston. The book is Diagnosed. It's inspirational stories after an alarming medical diagnosis. Sometimes you just need to go to you need a good movie. And I tell you where you get a good movie in Shreveport, Robinson Film Center.
That's right.
15 candles on top of that cake, 15th anniversary. Right now, the Out North Louisiana Film Festival is going on. You've also got Bottoms playing. So you can check all of that out at robinsonfilmcenter.org. But I hope you'll also check out Abby Singer's Bistro, second floor of the Robinson Film Center. No place like the Robinson, no place like Abby Singer's Bistro.
I need to get in there.
Oh, man. Let me tell you. They're open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday, and you need to join the fun. You need to join the crowd, and the way to do that is to become a member. Become a member of Robinson Film Center. You get discounts on movies. You get concession upgrades. You get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport, RobinsonFilmCenter.org. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jimmie, Bryant, David McMillian with Mark and Mary Kay Liston. They are the authors of Diagnosed, Inspirational Stories After an Alarming Medical Diagnosis. I so rudely interrupted you. Mary Kay, when the great Rush Limbaugh used to say, we have to stop for some crass commercial messages. So you guys are marketers. We got the crass commercial messages all out of the way, and I apologize. I had to interrupt you, but what was that thought?
Sure. We were talking about how people how you want to support those who are sick, your family or friends. And there's a phrase that people use that is, well, let me know if you need anything. And think about the burden that puts on the sick person.
Yeah.
Because they have to try to discern, to what level do you want to help me?
That is a great point.
I'm not going to ask you to do something that might make you uncomfortable or, beyond what you're really intending to offer.
Right.
And what we learned is that it's much more constructive if you say, I'd like to bring you a meal next week. What day works best?
Oh, I like that.
Or I'd love to take you to your next doctor's appointment. When is that? Can I pick up something for you at the grocery store?
Yeah.
So be specific, and truly then you're helping the sick person or the person who needs help but doesn't know how to ask or just can't think of what they need.
Yeah.
They need a lot.
Yeah, what you just mentioned, is that a good idea? Is that a good idea to bring somebody to the doctor's office with you?
It was magic for me because whatever the doctor said, all I wanted to hear was cancer or no cancer. So Mary Kay took copious notes on whatever the doctor was saying, and she's brave enough to say, what was that again? How do I spell that? And she has pages and pages and pages, every doctor's appointment, every hospital test, everything. And all I remember is, here's the other funny thing for you too, David, is that I would say, well, I was feeling like this, and she'd say, no, you weren't. What am I in? Oh, I forgot. I forgot that I had that.
I love it. You cover a lot of ground in the book. I mean, you've got 26 you've got the 26 cases and then of course you've got your case. So you've got you got a couple of sections. That section 1 has got 26 different cases, and we're talking everything from, gosh, a 4-year-old Thomas with a high-risk stage 4 sarcoma to Doug's story, a true Jesus warrior, to Nard, ALS and a love story. You've got thyroid cancer, you've got pancreatic cancer, you've got prostate cancer, you've got gum cancer. Marlene had gum cancer at 85 years old. My goodness.
And we saw her a few weeks ago. She looks great.
Wow. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned. I mean, it's interesting. History, his story. I guess we could also, these days, we need to say her story.
That's right.
Yeah, right. But I mean, that's we love stories. Human beings love stories. We get hooked by stories.
We do.
We get healed by stories. And this is a book of stories. Their stories and your story, Mark and Mary Kay.
We wanted to make sure that there wasn't too much of one area. For instance, people would think you could probably write 26 chapters all on breast cancer.
Right.
Well, there are 3 stories on breast cancer. One's Mary Kay's sister, but each of the stories was handled a different way of taking care of that.
Which is why it's so helpful for somebody who might be facing a diagnosis of breast cancer and they don't understand from a first-person account what is a double mastectomy, what's a single one, what's a lumpectomy, and when do I consider all these things. They can find those in the book.
Yeah.
You mentioned the ALS story. That's Mary Kay's brother who died of ALS. And his story is obviously for her a tough one. I mean, she was there with him 66 years of his life and was there the day he died. And with Bernard's story, it was about what happened after the diagnosis, not how he lived after the diagnosis. We all know how you don't, but we know how he lived before the diagnosis.
Right.
And when you have a story like that, and there's one more story about how someone lived after they were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and how he lived that last year and a half. Well, those are inspirational when you see what happened. And then you look at all the different ones, like Thomas. That's Mary Kay's favorite story.
It is, for sure. Can we tell you about Thomas?
Yeah, share Thomas with us. Thomas is the 4-year-old, right?
He's 4 years old. He is now 19.
Wow.
And it's a story about his parents, really.
Right. So that at 4 years old, truly, I mean, the parents feel helpless. What can I do?
Yeah.
And they divided and conquered with his care. His dad's very analytical, and he created spreadsheets and kept meticulous track of all of his appointments, his medications, the markers, and all of that on a spreadsheet. The mom was familiar with the medical field, so she was able to take on talking to the doctors and the care providers and understanding them. They ended up living in a Ronald McDonald House for a year in a state outside of where they live, but and the stories about how they coped with that and how wonderful Ronald McDonald House was. And finally, ultimately, he was cured and is now, a typical 19-year-old college freshman.
That's fantastic. What do you get feedback? How do you what have you heard so far from people who have not the people who are in the book, but patients who have read the book, and what have you heard in terms of it helping them get through whatever they're going through, whatever their diagnosis has been?
One of the first things we hear from so many people is, well, I should have been in the book. Here's what I had, and you should have my story in the book. Okay, well, maybe we'll write another one, and we write down their name. Really, we do.
Yeah.
Because they're finding that it's inspirational. That's the word that we hear over and over and over again, whether someone has been ill or they're, we're all going to have a family member or a friend who's going to face some critical medical crisis
right.
in our lifetime. those who have not faced it yet but have read the book, we're hearing from them, this is so useful to me. I now feel like I'm armed with a lot more knowledge about how to face that, should that occur.
Yeah.
The book has been out less than 2 months, and the only reviews we get that go on Amazon are all 5-star. But for the same reason that Mary Kay is saying, it's inspirational. I learned so much, provided hope. I've got a friend that's going through it right now. This will really help me. And I think when we wrote the book, we tried to be all-inclusive of men, women, 15 different types of cancer, besides what we said about breast cancer. So there's all these different things, but then the message that we got out of it was a good example. Somebody else in the book was going through stem cell replacement. So I sent her the story of Stephen before she started going through her stem cell replacement, because Stephen's story is a tough one.
Yeah.
But he lived and went through everything, described stem cell treatment, the process, and he got his donor out of the blue 2 weeks before he was going to die. He got the donor blue from someone in Germany who fit exactly all 10 criteria that he needed for a donor.
Wow.
So I sent that to her, and because I could send it to her, she read through it right away, and she realized he lived. He lived.
That's something.
I'm going to go through some tough stuff, but he lived.
Yeah, that's the book is diagnosed. Mark and Mary Kay Liston, wherever you buy books, it's inspirational stories after an alarming medical diagnosis. You know, sometimes I said earlier, you want to go to the movies. Sometimes you just need to get to the theater, because that's what life is, right?
That's right.
We've got one been going on for 101 years. Shreveport Little Theater. It's American theater at its best. Next on stage, My Way, the music of Sinatra. And that's coming up the end of October, 1st of November. The Wonderettes are back on stage in December with the Winter Wonderettes. 5 women wearing the same dress in January. Dial M for Murder in February and March. And Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville ends the season in April. Get your season tickets right now, ShreveportLittleTheater.com. Or at the very least, you better get your tickets for My Way. This is going to sell out just like always Patsy Cline. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. It is American theater at its best. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. Oh, man, welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. What a book, guys. Mark and Mary Kay Liston, our life strategist this evening here on Strategies for Living. What an important book for our times. And thank you for sharing it with us. You know, thank you. I'm not just talking about our radio audience this evening. Thank you for that. But thank you for sharing your story, Mark and Mary Kay, and everybody else's story with the world. You really, I think, you can't even begin to know how much difference you're making.
That's wonderful to hear. And if your listeners do want to learn a little bit more about it, we have a website, diagnosebook.com. You can learn a little bit more about us and certainly order the book from there too. But we also plan on attaching a copy of this show to our website.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
And a good
Thank
friend
you for the opportunity.
A good friend of ours, Donna Gould. I know you know probably who she is.
Donna's one of my very favorite people in the whole wide world.
He says the same about you, and if I didn't send some love to you from her, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, well, Donna and I have had a mutual, we've held each other up like this for many, many years. Mutual Admiration Society. So
I just want to say, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but one thing that I think should just specifically be appreciated about this book and about what Mark and Mary Kay are doing is this is how we're supposed to community. This is how we're supposed to do it.
Amen.
And so I admire.
They've given us a template, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You really summed it up with template, and so other people can take notes.
Yeah. Thank you for all of that, Mark and Mary Kay.
Well, thank you, Jimmie. That was very kind to say, and thank you, David, for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
We enjoyed writing the book. It was fun. The stories aren't long.
No.
That's what I like about it.
They're very readable and very easy to digest. So people may say, "Well, I don't have cancer, so I don't need to buy the book." You know what? We found out the number one cause of death. You know what it is? Birth. It's the number one cause of death.
Undefeated.
So, undefeated, yeah. Mark and Mary Kay Liston, diagnosed. Inspirational stories after an alarming medical diagnosis. Jimmie, thank you. Mark and Mary Kay, thank you. But folks, most of all, thank you. Thank you for listening to Strategies for Living, and we appreciate you. You're the reason we do this program, and our sponsors are the reason we can bring it to you. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning Rx and Hempress, Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, and the Shreveport Little Theater, and Prize Fest, a festival of film and food and music and fashion and stand-up comedy. Gregory Kallenberg with us tomorrow evening, right here. We are the prize. Strategies for Living. There you go. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Jimmie Bryant, for Mark and Mary Kay Liston, I'm David McMillian. See you next time on Strategies for Living.